What comes to mind when you hear the phrase self-leadership reset? The word reset can sound like you have to start over from scratch. Maybe you imagine wiping the slate clean, reinventing all of your routines, and finally becoming that different person that you want to be. That picture can feel really exciting in the moment, but then quickly become really overwhelming. In reality, healthy resets tend to be quieter. They aren't punishment for what you've done wrong. Rather, they're a way to pause, review, and choose how you want to lead yourself going forward from there. I'm filming this video in late December, and yes, late December naturally invites reflection. And you can absolutely use this process to reflect at the end of the year. However, keep in mind that you can perform a self-leadership reset anytime you want to. Maybe at the start of a new season in your life or your work. Maybe after a stretch of slow progress, or anytime you feel stuck. A reset is not about becoming someone else or totally wiping the slate clean necessarily. Rather, it's about renewing yourself with greater clarity and compassion. Let's talk about why resets can help your self-confidence. Self-confidence is rooted in self-trust. Every time you pause to review and reset with yourself in a kind, honest way, you're teaching yourself that you're not going to abandon yourself when life or work get messy. You're teaching yourself that you can look at what's true without shaming or blaming yourself. And you teach yourself that you have the ability to readjust and try again. Your internal security guard, well, she also benefits. She likes predictable care. So when you build in regular check-ins, she learns that you're paying attention and that she doesn't have to sound her alarm as often. Resets protect you from two different extremes. The first one is pushing forward on autopilot, ignoring your limits and sidestepping your values. And the second one is giving up and telling yourself, I give up for now. I'll try again next year or next quarter or whatever the case might be. Strong self-leadership follows a third path. Staying in strong, supportive relationship with yourself, one honest reset at a time. Here's a gentle, compassionate, but effective review that you can do to kick off your self-leadership reset. First, choose a specific time frame that you want to review. It could be the past month, the past quarter, the last season, the last year, a specific project, whatever the case might be for you. Ask yourself these three questions. First, what helped? What were the choices that supported your energy, your relationships, or your goals? What were the habits, even the small ones, that made your days run a little bit or a lot more smoothly? What were the times when you noticed moments of real self-confidence? Question number 2, what didn't help? Which patterns left you feeling depleted or resentful? Where were there times or areas of life where you overcommitted or ignored your own limits? And where were times where you judged yourself harshly? Number 3, what did you learn about your security guard? When does she tend to sound her alarm? Which situations feel bigger mentally and emotionally than they appear on the surface? And what helps your security guard settle down more easily? Keep in mind that this review is not a legal trial or some kind of a performance review. You aren't collecting evidence to prove that you're failing or that you're good enough. Rather, you're gathering information so that you can learn about yourself and lead yourself more effectively going forward. By the way, if you're wondering who this security guard is that I keep talking about and why she matters, I will link a video in the description here that tells you a little bit more about her. Let's talk about choosing values to guide your self-leadership going forward. So as you're performing a self-leadership reset, you want to choose guiding values for the season ahead. You don't have to have a perfect list. Start with 3 to 5 values that feel both meaningful and realistic for where you're at right now. Based on your consideration of what helped, what didn't help, and what you learned from your security guard, what values do you want to lead with? How do you want to grow in this next season? What version of yourself do you want to become, and which values will help you get there? Some examples of values might include things like courage or compassion, stewardship, rest, connection, or boldness. For each value, complete this simple sentence. When I honor this value, for example, when I honor courage, I say what I actually think in key situations and conversations, even if I feel nervous. Or when I honor rest, I protect one evening each week that is off limits to work or other obligations. Or when I honor connection, I put my phone away during dinner and I listen fully. These values and action statements turn abstract values into concrete guidance for your everyday choices. Let's talk about crafting believable thoughts and feelings during a self-leadership reset. Guiding values are important, but they aren't enough all on their own. You also need thoughts and feelings that are believable for where you're at right now, but also help you move in the direction you want to go. Those thoughts and feelings, they are what actually fuel your actions. Think about a few common moments that you are expecting to encounter in the upcoming weeks. It could be a big deadline or a social event that maybe holds some awkwardness, or maybe a great opportunity that also makes you feel a little bit nervous. It could be a challenging conversation that you know you need to have. For each situation, choose a value you want to honor, a thought that lines up with that value and feels believable to where you're at right now, and the feeling that that thought generates. Here are just a few everyday examples. Let's say, for example, that you have an overwhelming to-do list. Maybe you choose the value of stewardship and you think to yourself, I can steward my time by focusing on the next most important thing. When you think that, you feel determined. Maybe when you feel determined, you choose the top 1 or 2 tasks and let the rest wait instead of spinning in overwhelm and indecision. Maybe, again, you need to have a difficult conversation that maybe you've been avoiding. Perhaps the value you choose here is courage. Maybe you think to yourself, it's okay to feel nervous and still talk about what matters to me. Maybe that makes you feel brave. Maybe you schedule the conversation and speak honestly, even if you can feel your hands or your voice shaking. Maybe another situation, you want to take time off without feeling guilty and you select the value of rest. Maybe you think to yourself that rest is part of how I care for my future self and my work. It is not a reward that I have to earn. Maybe when you think that, you feel committed. Maybe when you feel committed, you actually allow yourself to step away, resist the urge to check email, and allow yourself to enjoy that downtime instead of feeling guilty. The goal of a self-leadership reset is not to force yourself into perfect positivity or to make over your behavior and your thoughts and emotions overnight. Instead, it's about choosing thoughts that match your values and are believable enough to shift how you feel in the moment. Now, if you tend to be someone who says, I don't have time for mindset work, I'm going to link a video for you to check out in the description. It's all about why mindset matters so much and how your brain is doing mindset work for you, whether you like it or not. So pop down to the description and check that out. Let's talk about creating a light rhythm to keep you connected after your leadership reset. To maintain momentum after you perform your self-leadership reset, set up a simple rhythm. It doesn't have to be elaborate or time-consuming. Here's just one option. At the start of each day, quickly read through those value statements. When I honor this value, I ... Then at the end of the week, ask yourself this one question. Where did I lead myself a little more effectively this week? Maybe you noticed yourself pausing before immediately saying yes to a request, or perhaps you took one small step toward a long-term goal. Maybe you gave yourself a kinder response after a mistake that you made. Whatever it is, highlight that progress to yourself. Let yourself register that moment in your brain as evidence of growth. Your brain is not naturally programmed to look for evidence of your progress and success. It's actually programmed to do the opposite of that. It looks for evidence of what you've done poorly, what's unfinished, where you're risking rejection. And that is why it's so important to pause and reflect on the progress you've made. Over time, this rhythm retrains your brain to look for where you are already leading yourself well and the places that you are making progress instead of only scanning for what's wrong or unfinished. Let's take a minute to redefine progress in self-leadership. So, progress in self leadership rarely looks like a straight line. It goes nonlinear. Instead of measuring success only by external outcomes, notice these three kinds of shifts. Feeling a bit calmer when you're asked to speak up unexpectedly, or recovering from a wobble in hours instead of days, or catching that negative self talk in your mind and choosing a more compassionate thought, or maybe setting a boundary and ruminating less afterward and eventually not ruminating at all, or owning a mistake without collapsing into shame and embarrassment. These are all signs that your self confidence is growing from the inside out. They might not show up on a spreadsheet and they might be difficult to measure, but they reshape how you move through every single part of your life. Now, here's the great news. You don't have to navigate self-leadership development alone. If you want a structured, down-to-earth place to build self-confidence, strengthen your self-leadership skills, and practice these kinds of resets with professional guidance, then the Self-Confidence Edit was made for you. The Self-Confidence Edit is my signature one-on-one coaching program where we work through my 3P self-confidence method. We focus on your perception, your relationship with yourself, and rebuilding that, your potential, your belief that you can handle whatever comes up, and finally, your perspective, where we look at how you view other people's opinions and expectations and reframe them in a healthy way. We integrate nervous system regulation, mindset work, and concrete experiments so you can feel as confident on the inside as you look on the outside. If you'd like to learn more and find out if the Self-Confidence Edit might be a good fit for you, you can visit my website at amyshield.com. That's amyschhield.com/edit and schedule a free consultation. My name is Amy Shield. I help smart, capable women feel as confident on the inside as they look on the outside. Thank you so much for checking out my video today. I hope you have an amazing day. Bye-bye.